Hi everyone. So I will start with my reaction to Facing Our Mistakes. I thought it was an important and impactful article because the doctor does present a different conversation about, I guess, the humanity surrounding doctors. We have a mindset sometimes that even though doctors are held to a high standard, that maybe they're held to an impossible standard. And I was just thinking of how lawyers or even certain types of engineers or just certain types of professionals are also held to higher standards when they have big responsibilities or they have other people's lives in their hands. And so I was able to see and have compassion for him and appreciated his candidness of how he shared some really terrible mistakes that he made. That doesn't mean that I think that he shouldn't have done things differently. I feel that he does have a responsibility as a doctor to have, for example, given that mother an ultrasound and could have avoided aborting that child, but it also shows that he had compassion and was truly upset and carried all that guilt about what happened for that particular incident. And while I was reading the article, I was thinking too of the research that I had done and the articles that some of my classmates had posted about what other countries do and a no-fault system versus the tort-based system that we have. And I'll segue into what I ended up finding. So I focused on two countries and comparing both, but I'll focus more on New Zealand. I was looking at New Zealand and Sweden. And before I get to that, I was looking that in Virginia and in Florida, there is a piece of legislation in each state or statute that it's no fault, has a no fault foundation. And it's in Virginia, for example, there's a Virginia Birth Related Neurological Injury Compensation Act, and it's in a response to malpractice insurance availability problems facing obstetricians. And the program pays for medical expenses, lost earnings, and attorney's fees for children whose birth resulted in severe neurological injuries. And in Florida, it is very similar. So, like in Virginia, the Birth-Related Neurological Injury Compensation Association covers children who were brain damaged during a birthing process by oxygen deprivation or mechanical injury. An infant must be permanently and substantially mentally and physically impaired. Children suffering from genetic or congenital abnormalities are not eligible, and a participating doctor in a participating hospital must have delivered the infant. And comparing both statutes, what it comes down to is the funding is supported by doctors, it's supported by hospitals, and that's very similar to New Zealand, where they abolished all tort law remedies and replaced it with a no-fault compensation scheme. And it has 5 principles, which is community responsibility, which in other words is the community collectively bore a basic responsibility for the social costs of accidents, comprehensive entitlement, meaning that equity required, giving assistance to all those disabled by accidents, irrespective of cause, time, or location, complete rehabilitation, where the accident victims should recover in the shortest possible time, real compensation, meaning that compensation should reflect the real loss, and administrative efficiency, where you're collecting funds and paying benefits, where collecting funds and paying benefits should be conducted as efficiently as possible. And I am glad that the US does have some sort of no-fault system, even though we do follow mainly a tort-based system, simply because I think there are going to be some situations that patients need to be compensated and they can't prove negligence. As much as I do think and agree that sometimes the best way to go about it is to go through a jury and you can get compensated by finding fault in the doctor, but at the other end of the spectrum, it doesn't encourage the doctors to maybe be candid like this doctor was in his article about his own fault and take responsibility on his own. And also what I like about the no-fault system is that it really is community-based, and in a way that you have doctors and hospitals coming together to really, at the end of the day, compensate the victim, which I guess in Virginia and Florida would be an innocent baby, but in New Zealand it could be, it's not limited to that. So I find it interesting that we have both systems in this country, and I think that we could do better by having more legislation that pushes toward no fault system, but not completely eliminating our tort-based system, because some cases would be better for people if they followed the no fault system, and some would be better if they followed the tort-based system. Thank you.